Let's go to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I didn't pronounce the word pronounce right there. And talk to Joe Newby, who is a blogger and just new media star, doing what you should be doing in 2017 to get the message out. And Joe, thanks for joining me. Let's talk about your book. Your book, which I didn't even mention yet because I'm not using any notes, is called, where I have it in front of me here. I know what it's about. Banned, How Facebook Enables Militant Islamic Jihad, and you wrote it with Adina Kutnicki. Why don't you tell us about the book first? And, people can buy it at Amazon, but, tell us about it.
Absolutely. Sure. What this book gets into is it gets into what Facebook does, why they do what they do, and in reality, it answers a question that a lot of people really, are wondering. Why does Facebook, why do they do what they do, and what gives them the power to do it? And this book answers that. Adina and I talk specifically about Islamic Jihad and how Facebook's enforcement and how their actions actually enable jihad. But you can translate that into just about anything that goes on with Facebook, whether it be pulling down a group. I mean, just recently we had a gigantic pro-Trump group that was pulled off of Facebook.
Which one was that?
That was, what was it, Trump for My President, Deplorables for Trump or something. Is one of those. But it was a huge, huge group, had 130,000 supporters, 130,000 followers. They weren't really given any reasons why. Well, this book gets into why that can happen. And when people read that, I don't want to get into all the nuts and bolts, but when people find out that we can actually blame our federal government for all this nonsense that happens with YouTube, Facebook, all the censorship that's going on social media, we can thank the U.S. government for that.
In what way? I mean, let's just sell your book without cannibalizing it in the best possible way. Let's fascinate the audience right now.
In 1996, there was a law put out. This was back when the Internet was in its infancy still, as we know it. This was before YouTube, Facebook, all that garbage. There was a law that came out called the Communications Decency Act of 1996. Section 230 of that law was interpreted in 2014 by a federal judge in Washington, D.C. to mean that social media providers, companies like Facebook, YouTube, Google, you name it, all of them have the right to censor even constitutionally protected speech with zero legal consequences. In other words, they can do whatever they want to their users, just short of dragging them out of their house and shooting them in the streets under the current law. So we can actually thank Congress, Adam, for essentially abusing the First Amendment. The First Amendment says Congress won't make any law, bridging the freedom of speech, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well, Congress did in this case. It wasn't their intent, but that's the outcome.
It's a little more complicated. And what do you say about, the government can't restrict freedom of speech, but these are just private companies restricting freedom of speech because it's not a government enterprise. I mean, isn't that what the obvious answer is? Of course, they're getting a wink from the government as a monopoly, basically.
Right, but then again, you have to stop and think. It's the government that gave them the ability to do that. Here's the kicker, though. Here's the kicker. With zero legal consequences. Now, as a writer, or you as a podcaster or broadcaster, if you say something about someone that you know to be false, but you say it, or I write it and put it out there anyway, knowing that it's false, guess what? I can face legal consequences for that. You can face legal consequences for that. On the other hand, Facebook, YouTube, all these social media sites, they can do whatever they want with zero legal consequences.
Right.
See, and that's the huge difference. There's absolutely no incentive whatsoever for them to watch their P's and Q's. Now, that doesn't mean they can't ever be sued. If you've got a brilliant attorney who can maybe think outside the box,
Sure.
You might be able to do something. But for the average person, no. You have no legal protections whatsoever. And again, we can thank Congress for that.
And the problem's particularly bad in regard to Europe. I mean, there's stuff going on in Germany right now, and the so-called migrants, they're using this as a way to stifle any criticism of Islam.
Right. And Mark Zuckerberg was actually caught on an open microphone back in 2015 telling German Chancellor Merkel that he was actually working on ways to stifle criticism of these migrants. Yeah, Dean and I get into that, and it's not just a banning, although that's a big part of it. There's a whole lot that goes on that people don't know about. I'm talking about erasing history, for example.
Tell me more.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I don't want to give it all away, but there was a group that was looking for information that could possibly lead to war crimes, trials, possible war crimes charges. And they were relying on Facebook, the information that they found on Facebook, to help build up and buttress their case. All of a sudden, that information went missing.
Yeah, well, one should have been much more careful about that. We know better than to do that now.
Yeah, but see, it's things like this, and it's just there's a whole slew. It's like there is a particular word, Adam, that nobody dare use. In fact, I've got a contributor right now who's in Facebook jail because he used this word 3 years ago in a comment.
Yeah, explain Facebook jail and all that. I mean, I know they used to say, well, it's just a social site, and so, you're getting too political, but take us through that a little bit.
Yeah, the Facebook jail is essentially what happened. That's what we call it when Facebook decides that they don't like something that you've done or something that you've said or something that you posted, and then they give you a ban. They say, oh, this violates our terms, our community standards, and you've been banned for however long, 24 hours, 12 hours, 30 days, whatever.
Yeah, I've gotten the 30 days.
Yeah, well, last November I was given a 30-day ban for a picture of a U.S. flag.
Oh.
That actually happened. And it was a picture that I didn't even post to make things worse. Anyway, I've got a contributor right now who is on his third consecutive 30-day ban for using one particular word 3 years ago in a comment.
Did it begin with an N?
It begins with an M. And it
M. I said N.
M. Yeah, it begins with an M, and it rhymes with fuzzy. And a term you hear people use a lot. It's a slang term that people use referring to Muslims. And it's
that word?
Yes, that word. Now, keep that in the back of your mind. Kind of file that away somewhere. That will earn you a 30-day ban.
No kidding. That's scary.
No kidding.
I mean, that's not one of the words you don't even think twice if you're over out at dinner with people in polite company. I mean, there are certain words you won't say. Like, you won't say the MF word. You won't say the N word.
Yeah.
But
no, those words are okay.
Right.
But now here's the thing: if you're an Islamist,
well, one is if you have an A at the end of it, I imagine.
True, that's true.
Yeah.
However, and Dean and I document this quite thoroughly within the book. There are a number of cases where Islamists have actually threatened violence. We're talking about rape. We're talking about death, murder, and very explicit terms. The people who are targeted by these threats report them. And guess what Facebook says? We're
not into policing. We're freedom of speech.
No, it's worse than that. If they said that, you could say, okay. But that's not what they say. They say things like, this does not violate our community standards. So
it was merely rape threats.
Yes, rape, murder. Murder you, murder your family, burn your house.
It's just something you got to be used to in a big city, as Mayor Khan of London would say.
Sure, that's what Sadiq Khan told us.
Yeah.
So in essence, what you have with Facebook is you have an online version of Sharia law, in essence, being implemented.
Right. You don't have to Sharia, have your head chopped off, but you know that it will happen, and that chills speech right there, essentially.
Correct.
When you know you may get a 30-day threat, you think twice about saying something that you might otherwise openly say. And that's how it works.
I am very careful about what I post on Facebook because
Right.
I know all this, and I've been banned on Facebook I don't know how many times. And the thing of it is, the crazy thing about it is, Adam, I've been on Facebook since what 2010 thereabouts.
Right.
I've been
kind of late
banned,
there, Joe.
and you know, every single ban that's been handed down to me has been over stuff that I have never done.
Wow. See, when I got it, I had actually done it. There was one thing
Yeah.
about rape of white women in Europe by Muslims, and the girl, to be fair, did have no top on. So okay, I probably should have thought better of that. It was a cartoon, don't get me wrong, so I should have known. Well, whatever. Even though it still made the point, because the father of the girl was saying, it was actually on this, says, but that's my daughter, as you had all these Muslims doing things to her, said, hey, or we're going to arrest you. I mean, that was it. And that actually is perfectly, I can see why Facebook would be sensitive about that.
Yeah, I remember that cartoon.
You know which one I'm talking
and the
about.
cartoon, yes, the cartoon made a very, it was spot on as far as the point that it was trying to make. But
probably
it
didn't need to show
enough.
as much of the daughter's breasts as it did, and it could have made the same point and whatever,
Exactly. Well, I have a personal friend right here, in my neck of the woods, who put up a picture of a 2012 Donald Trump campaign button. It only showed his face, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Facebook tore it down and banned him and claimed that violated their rules on nudity.
What?
Yeah,
I guess his face was nude, but
yeah.
Huh.
But see, that is the kind of nonsense that goes on there all the time. I have another friend who had a picture. Her profile picture was a lilac bush. Okay, Facebook told her that profile picture violated their rules on pornography. That they actually called that picture of a lilac tree pornographic.
Well, maybe sometimes the shadows can be in particular shapes that are and meanwhile, the Muslims are threatening people with rape, gang rape. Okay,
and that's the point that Adina and I make in our book. And of course, we go far beyond just that. We look at what happens to pages. We do a compare and contrast, actually, how Facebook treats one group of people versus how it treats another group of people. There was a case where a group called Shirat Hadin, who the Israel Law Center, they put up, just as a test, they put up two competing pages, one pro-Israel, one pro-Palestinian.
Yep, I remember this. Yep.
Okay, and they were making, they put up posts that were, attacking each other, and they got, progressively strident as time went on, to the point to where they were, kill. So they said, okay, here's our experiment. They reported both of these pages to Facebook on the same day and waited to see what would happen. Well, the pro-Israel page was torn down almost immediately. The pro-Palestinian page, which said essentially the same thing, was not. And Facebook said that did not violate. Well, what they didn't know, Facebook didn't know, was that Shirat Hadin was making a video of all this.
Yep.
And they put together a video. It went out. It got seen well over 1 million times.
Yep.
I blogged about it. A good friend of mine blogged about it.
A brilliant
Quite
effort
a few of us
overall.
blogged about it. Yeah, and then once this thing had been seen like 1 million times, Facebook said, "Oh, we made a mistake."
Right. We disciplined that employee.
That's always their excuse. We made a mistake. My response to that is, yeah, you made a mistake, but it was not by accident.
Exactly. All right, I've been talking with Joe Newby, the co-author with Adina Kutnicki of Banned, How Facebook Enables Militant Islamic Jihad. Great guest. He's a social media star and author. Joe, where can people find you in the future? And there are a number of ways, I know.
A number of ways. Best way probably is if you're on Facebook, look up Conservative Firing Line. That's the name of the blog that I run. I have a Facebook page there. We have videos. We have memes that go up there every day. Plus, we have lots of articles by myself and all of our contributors that go up there, and they can find us there. Great.
Are you on Twitter?
Yes, I am.
Just Joe Newby, Newby?
J Newby 1956.
All right. And, well, thanks for coming on. Love to have you on again. This was an interesting conversation, but we are out of time.
Well,
nice
thank
talking
you for
to
having
you, Joe.
me, Adam. It's been
Thanks
a
for coming
pleasure.
on.
Thank you.